Part of being a human being, part of being a person, part of living in the world that we are currently in is that there are things that are difficult. And one of the things that is difficult is negotiating living in this life. And something that is treated with a certain amount of slyness and a certain amount of humor is the subject of temptation. And everybody wants to act in front of other people like there is no temptation. But honestly, being a clergy for a whole bunch of years, anytime you get to know someone, really get to know someone, not just greet them over a bagel or have a cup of coffee with them, but any time that you end up becoming a person who really ends up digging deep into relationships and gets to know another person well, what you will find out is that each one of us have areas of loss in our lives, areas in which we wish things were different, areas in which there are things that we desperately wish were different. And in those parts of our lives, we are subject to temptation. If you really wish that you had someone that you could share your life with in a committed covenant fashion, and you don't, that's an area that you will feel temptation in. If you really wish that you had a certain level of financial comfort, and you don't, and you're scraping by and you're really not sure exactly how you're going to make the next week or the next month or the next 2 months or whatever your frame is work, that's an area that you're subject to temptation in. And the adversary, the enemy of your soul, does not come to you in an area where you are comfortable, where you are set up, and where you have everything that you need. But often temptation comes to you in an area where you have lack, concern, or you're not sure if you're going to make it. And in areas of fear, comes the point where a voice that is not from you says, "Is God really taking care of you? You know, you could take and do this thing." And whatever it is, and indeed in the story of the beginning of all humanity, and because I call it a story doesn't mean it wasn't true, because true stories are stories just like fiction is. And I actually believe this was a true story. But at the very beginning of humanity, there was a prohibition. And the prohibition was not to eat of the fruit of a specific tree. And when it looked like nobody was watching, the temptation came. And when the temptation came, it became evident that the forbidden fruit was attractive, looked good, and in all likelihood was going to taste great. At that point in time, the only instruction was, don't do this or death will come. And at the very beginning, when the disobedience happened, death did not come instantly. But it did set into being a series of circumstances that would bring death. And not only death for the one who did it, but death for all those who came afterwards. Understand the areas in your spirituality, in your walk, and in your life where you have a want or you have a need. Understand the areas in your spirituality, your walk, and your life where you are afraid. Understand the areas in your life where you are vulnerable. Because honestly, what's going on is there will be seasons and will be times where temptation comes. And there's nobody that I worry about more than people who look at things and go, oh, I have it so under control that no temptation is going to come to me. These people really worry me because we're all mortal, we're all human, we're all limited, and we're all in a circumstance where honestly, we are vulnerable to temptation. And it is a hard thing to be righteous. It is a hard thing to trust God. It's a hard thing to look at what's around us and go, I am going to happily choose the limits, the constraints, and the things that are going on around me, because I think that this is what God has for me, and I ultimately think that this is the very best. And even though it doesn't feel comfortable, even though I'm not enjoying it, and even though I'd like things to be different than they are, I will trust God, and I will not move into a situation that I know to be evil. I will not move into a situation where I will steal what is not mine. I will not move into a situation where what God has said I may not have, I will seek to work my way around him so that I can get what I believe he's holding back from me. Because when you operate like that, you honestly have a heart space where you believe that God is trying to do harm to you, not that God is trying to do the very best for you that can be done. Be aware of temptation. Resist it. Run away from it. And understand your own frailty. Shalom.